The champagne glass shattered against marble flooring, and Marcus Bennett's hand froze mid-reach for his penthouse door. It was 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, and someone was cleaning inside his home. The metallic scrape of a bucket, the slosh of water, then a woman's quiet gasp of pain. Marcus pushed the door open silently. What he saw made his blood turn to ice. On her hands and knees in the center of his pristine white living room was Elena Morales, the woman who had raised him, scrubbing floors in a gray housekeeping uniform. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her shoulders hunched, her movements mechanical. A dark purple bruise bloomed on her left forearm, visible even from where Marcus stood. Again, Elena, you missed a spot near the window. Victoria Sterling emerged from the study, her Louboutin heels clicking against the floor. Marcus now realized Elena had been forced to clean. His fiancée held a tablet, scrolling through it with the detached efficiency of a corporate manager reviewing inventory. She hadn't even looked up. "I'm sorry, Miss Victoria," Elena whispered, her voice cracking. "I'll fix it right away." Marcus's throat constricted. Elena never whispered. Elena, who had worked 3 jobs to keep him fed as a child, who had stood up to his teachers when they said he'd never amount to anything, who had a laugh that could fill a room. This broken, trembling woman couldn't be her. "Marcus." Victoria's face transformed into a brilliant smile when she finally noticed him. "Darling, you're home early. The gala was dreadful without you, but I completely understand. Business always comes first." She crossed to him, reaching for a kiss, but Marcus stepped back. "What's going on here?" His voice came out flat, controlled, though his hands were shaking. Victoria's laugh was light, practiced. "Oh, this?" Elena mentioned she felt useless just sitting around all day. "You know how some people are, Marcus. They need purpose. I thought I'd help her feel more productive by organizing some household tasks. She's actually quite grateful, aren't you, Elena?" Elena's head bobbed once, her eyes fixed on the floor. The bruise on her arm seemed to pulse under the recessed lighting. Marcus noticed her hands trembling around the scrub brush, noticed the way her shoulders hunched as if expecting a blow. "Elena, look at me." Marcus's voice cracked. Slowly, painfully, Elena lifted her head. The woman who had sung him to sleep, who had taught him to read using library books she'd checked out during lunch breaks, who had cried tears of joy when he got his first business contract, now looked at him with the hollow eyes of someone who'd forgotten what it meant to hope. "I'm fine, Mijo," she said softly. "Miss Victoria is right. I wanted to help." It was the way she said Miss Victoria that broke something inside Marcus. Like she was a servant. Like she was nothing. "It's late," Victoria interjected smoothly. "Elena, why don't you finish up tomorrow? You must be exhausted. Marcus and I have wedding details to discuss anyway." She placed a proprietary hand on Marcus's arm. "The Vanderbilt estate confirmed our date. Isn't that wonderful?" Marcus watched Elena struggle to her feet, one hand pressed against her lower back, wincing. She gathered her cleaning supplies with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd been doing this for weeks, maybe longer. How long had he been blind? How many business trips? How many late nights at the office? How many times had he left Elena alone with Victoria? "How long has this been going on?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" Victoria's perfectly arched eyebrow rose. "Elena's been helping around the house for about 2 months now. It gives her something to do during the day." She insisted, "Marcus, you can ask her yourself." 2 months. He'd been in Singapore for 3 weeks, London for another 2, back and forth to New York 6 times. He'd been building his empire while the woman who built him was being destroyed in his own home. "Elena, is this what you want?" Marcus asked directly, ignoring Victoria completely now. Elena's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes darted to Victoria, then back to the floor. "It's fine, Marcus. Don't worry about me. You have important things to focus on. Don't worry about her. Marcus repeated, his voice rising. She's my mother. Adoptive mother. Victoria corrected gently, her smile never wavering. And no one's questioning the lovely bond you share. But Marcus, darling, you're exhausted. Let's discuss this tomorrow when you're thinking more clearly. Elena, you're dismissed. Dismissed. Like a servant. Like she was nothing. Elena shuffled toward what Marcus realized with growing horror was the converted maid's quarters off the kitchen. Not the guest suite on the top floor where he'd left her. Not the comfortable room with the bay view and the reading chair she loved. A windowless room barely bigger than a closet. Wait, Marcus said. But Elena had already closed the door behind her. He turned to Victoria, really looked at her for the first time in months. The perfectly styled blonde hair, the designer dress that cost more than Elena's entire year's salary back when she'd worked at the textile factory. The smile that never quite reached her eyes. Has it always been like this? Had he been so dazzled by her sophistication, her connections to the old money families that had once sneered at him, that he'd missed what she really was? You look upset, Victoria said, her tone shifting to something softer, more manipulative. I know change is hard, but I'm just trying to help. This arrangement works well. Elena feels purposeful, and honestly, Marcus, she was getting in the way. When we're married, we'll need the space for entertaining properly. Your business associates expect a certain standard. Get out, Marcus said quietly. What? Get out of my sight. Now. Victoria's mask slipped for just a second, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. But she recovered quickly, touching his cheek. You're tired. We'll talk in the morning. After she left for her own penthouse 3 floors down, Marcus stood alone in his living room. The room Elena had just scrubbed. The bucket of dirty water still sat by the window, a testament to her labor. He walked over to it, saw the pink tinge that meant her hands had been bleeding. He'd built a fortune. He'd built a name. He'd built everything except awareness of what was happening in his own home to the only person who'd ever loved him unconditionally. Marcus pulled out his phone and dialed a number. It rang 3 times before a groggy voice answered. This better be life or death, Bennett. James, Marcus said to his business partner and oldest friend. I need you to do something for me. Tonight. Right now. What's going on? I need security cameras installed throughout my penthouse. Hidden. Professional grade. I need to see everything that happens when I'm not here. There was a long pause. Marcus, what happened? I think. Marcus's voice broke. I think the woman I'm supposed to marry has been abusing my mother. And I need proof before I do what I'm about to do. By 4 a.m., 6 tiny cameras were installed throughout Marcus's penthouse. James had called in favors, woken up a security specialist, and paid triple overtime without question. Now they sat in Marcus's home office, James watching his friend's face as Marcus explained what he'd seen. The bruises, James. She had bruises. And the way she looked at me, like she was afraid to speak. Elena's never been afraid of anything in her life. What are you going to do? Marcus stared at the monitor showing 6 different angles of his quiet penthouse. I'm going to find out the truth. Then I'm going to make sure everyone else sees it too. James left at dawn. Marcus didn't sleep. He showered, dressed in his usual Tom Ford suit, and left his penthouse at 7 a.m. as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. He drove to his office building in downtown San Francisco, took the elevator to the 42nd floor, and opened his laptop to the security feed. For the next 3 days, Marcus Bennett watched his world reveal its true face. Day 1, 8:30 a.m. Victoria entered his penthouse using her key. She found Elena in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. I thought I told you to have this ready by 8. Victoria's voice came through crystal clear. Are you becoming incompetent in your old age? I'm sorry, Miss Victoria. The stove wasn't heating properly. Excuses. You know what Marcus pays for this apartment? What does he pays for everything you consume? The least you can do is follow simple instructions. Marcus watched Elena's shoulders curve inward, watching her nod submissively. He'd seen that posture before, years ago, when she dealt with his father's family after they'd refused to acknowledge Marcus's existence. Back then, Elena had squared her shoulders and told them Marcus would be worth 10 of them someday. She'd been right. But somewhere along the way, something had broken her. The footage continued. Victoria's friends arrived at 10. Amanda Price, Constance Wu, and Margaret Henley, women who served on charity boards and summered in the Hamptons. Women Marcus had smiled across dinner tables, never seeing what they truly were. "Oh, Victoria, you're so clever keeping her around," Amanda said, glancing at Elena as if she were furniture. Most people would have shipped the old woman off to one of those homes. "Marcus is sentimental," Victoria replied, examining her nails. "But I'm teaching her that sentiment doesn't mean she can be lazy. Elena, we'll have lunch here. Prepare something light. And try not to burn it this time." There had been no last time that Marcus knew of. It was just cruelty for its own sake. He watched Elena prepare a salad, her hands shaking slightly as she chopped vegetables. When she brought it out, Margaret deliberately bumped her glass, sending water cascading across the white tablecloth. "How clumsy," Margaret exclaimed, but she was smiling. "Elena, clean this up immediately. And bring fresh linens. These are ruined." "That's the third set of linens this week." Victoria sighed dramatically. "I suppose we'll have to start deducting the cost from, well, from something." The three women laughed. Elena said nothing, just cleaned the spill and disappeared to fetch new linens. When she returned, Amanda had scattered breadcrumbs across the floor. "Oh dear, look at this mess. Elena, would you mind?" Marcus watched his mother get down on her hands and knees again, watched her scrub the floor, while three women continued their conversation about vacation homes and designer handbags, occasionally dropping crumbs deliberately in her path. The footage had a timestamp. This went on for 90 minutes. That night, Victoria stayed at her own place. Marcus reviewed the footage of Elena alone in that tiny maid's room. She sat on the narrow bed, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She pulled out a photograph from her wallet, one Marcus recognized. Him at 8 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, holding his first spelling bee trophy. Elena had worked a double shift to afford the registration fee for that competition. "I'm sorry, Mijo," she whispered to the photo. "I'm trying not to be a burden." Marcus had to close his laptop. He sat in his office as the sun set over San Francisco, his hands pressed against his face. James found him there an hour later. "You saw something bad." "I saw everything," Marcus said. "I saw who I'm really engaged to. I saw what I let happen. This isn't your fault, isn't it? I brought Victoria into Elena's life. I left them alone together. I was so busy building my company, making my money, proving I was good enough for Victoria's world that I didn't see what was happening in my own home." James pulled up a chair. "What's your plan?" "I need more footage. I need it to be undeniable. And then I make sure Victoria Sterling learns what it means to humiliate someone who can't fight back." Day 2 revealed worse. Marcus watched Victoria inspect Elena's cleaning, running a white glove over surfaces like some Victorian aristocrat. When she found dust, she didn't just criticize. She made Elena redo entire rooms. Marcus watched his mother clean the same bathroom 3 times in one afternoon, each time Victoria finding some microscopic flaw. "Your eyesight must be failing," Victoria said pleasantly. "How unfortunate. I suppose that happens with age. You're what, 67 now? Marcus really should consider your long-term care options." "I'm 63, Elena said quietly. 63, 67. What's the difference at your age? The point is, You're not getting any younger or more capable. Perhaps we should discuss assisted living facilities. I've heard some of them are quite nice, assuming one can afford the better ones. Which, of course, would depend entirely on Marcus's generosity. The threat was clear. Behave, or be discarded. That afternoon, Marcus watched Victoria push Elena. Not hard, not enough to knock her down, just a small shove when Elena was carrying a laundry basket. Enough to make her stumble, enough to assert dominance. Elena caught herself against the wall, said nothing, and continued to the laundry room. This was systematic abuse. This was intentional degradation of a woman who couldn't defend herself because she loved her son too much to cause problems in his life. Day 3, Marcus watched Victoria's mask slip completely. Elena had accidentally shrunk one of Victoria's cashmere sweaters in the wash. Victoria didn't yell. She did something worse. She sat Elena down at the kitchen table and explained, in excruciating detail, exactly how worthless she was. You understand that Marcus keeps you here out of pity, don't you? That's not love, Elena. That's an obligation. He pays your bills because it would look bad if he didn't. Do you know what his colleagues say about you? They call you his project, his charity case. They wonder why he hasn't put you in a home where you belong. That's not true, Elena whispered. Isn't it? When was the last time Marcus took you to one of his galas? Introduced you to his friends? You're an embarrassment, Elena. A reminder of his poverty-stricken past. And once we're married, that embarrassment ends. You'll either learn your place and stay invisible, or you'll leave. Your choice. Marcus watched Elena's face crumble. Watched years of dignity stripped away by calculated cruelty. Watched his mother believe the lies because Victoria had isolated her so completely that there was no other voice telling her she mattered. That night, Marcus sat with James in his office again. I have what I need, Marcus said. I know what I'm going to do. You're going to end it. I'm going to expose it. Publicly. I'm going to make sure everyone who watched this happen, everyone who laughed, everyone who participated sees exactly what they've done. That's a nuclear option, Marcus. Victoria's family has connections. I don't care. Her friends will close ranks. Let them. You'll lose access to certain social circles. Marcus looked at his friend. James, I watched 3 women drop breadcrumbs on the floor for 90 minutes just to watch my mother crawl around cleaning them up. I watched my fiancé threaten to throw Elena into a care facility like she's garbage. What exactly do you think I'm losing by walking away from those people? James smiled slowly. Nothing worth keeping. Exactly. Now help me plan a dinner party. I want everyone there. Victoria's friends, some of my board members, a few key business partners. I want witnesses who can't be dismissed as biased. I want it filmed. And I want it to be on a night when Victoria feels completely secure. Saturday. Victoria's been planning some celebrations for her birthday next month. I'll tell her I'm throwing an engagement party. She won't be able to resist. Marcus spent the next 2 days being the perfect fiancé. He took Victoria to dinner at her favorite restaurant, agreed enthusiastically with her wedding plans, and acted as if nothing had changed. All the while, the cameras recorded. All the while, he edited footage into a 15-minute compilation of cruelty. Friday afternoon, he visited Elena while Victoria was at her spa appointment. He found his mother folding laundry in that tiny room, her movements slow and painful. Elena, she startled, dropping a towel. Marcus, I didn't hear you come in. Is everything all right? Does Miss Victoria need something? The fact that she assumed he was there on Victoria's behalf made his chest ache. I need to talk to you. Of course. She stood immediately, smoothing her uniform. When did she start wearing a uniform all the time? What is it? Marcus sat on the narrow bed, the only place to sit in the cramped room. How long have you been sleeping in here? Elena's eyes shifted away. Miss Victoria thought it would be more efficient if I was closer to the kitchen. for early morning preparations. Elena, look at me. She did, reluctantly. I know what's been happening. Her face went pale. Marcus, please don't make trouble. I'm fine, really. Miss Victoria is just very particular about how things should be done, and I'm still learning. You're not learning anything. You're being abused. No. Elena's response was immediate, panicked. No, Marcus, it's not like that. I volunteered to help. It makes me feel useful. I don't want to be a burden on you. A burden. Marcus's voice cracked. Elena, you worked 3 jobs to keep me fed when I was a kid. You gave up everything so I could go to college. You believed in me when no one else did. How could you ever be a burden? Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. You have a new life now. An important life. Victoria comes from a good family. She can give you things I never could. Status, connections, the right kind of future. I don't want to ruin that for you. By existing, by being a reminder of where you came from. I understand. You don't have to feel guilty. If it would be easier, I can find somewhere else to live. I have a little money saved. Stop. Marcus took her hands, felt how rough they'd become from constant cleaning. Elena, Victoria has been lying to you. About me, about what I think, about everything. I don't see you as a burden. I don't care about status. And anyone who treats you like you're worthless doesn't deserve to be in my life. Elena shook her head. You're just upset. Victoria loves you. She's planning this beautiful wedding. Elena, what happened to your arm? She pulled her sleeve down quickly. I bumped into a door. And your wrists? The bruises that look like fingerprints. I'm clumsy lately. Getting older. Elena, please don't lie to me. Not you. Everyone else can lie, but not you. She broke then, really broke. 30 years of strength dissolved into shaking sobs. Marcus held her like she'd held him through nightmares and bullies and every fear of his childhood. She felt so small now, so fragile. When did that happen? I wanted to tell you, she whispered. But she said you'd send me away if I caused problems. She said you were embarrassed by me. She said I was holding you back from the life you deserved. She lied about all of it. But she's right about some things. I am from a different world than yours now. I don't fit in your penthouse life. Then maybe I don't want this penthouse life. Elena pulled back, searching his face. What are you saying? I'm saying I've been so focused on building wealth that I forgot what made me wealthy in the first place. You, your love, your sacrifices. Everything I have exists because you gave me a chance to dream. And I've been letting someone destroy you while I chase money. Marcus, no. Tomorrow night, there's going to be a dinner party here. Victoria thinks it's an engagement celebration. It's not. I need you to trust me one more time. Like you trusted me when I was 8 years old and promised I'd take care of you someday. I'm finally keeping that promise. Elena wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? Something I should have done the moment I saw you on your knees scrubbing my floor. Saturday arrived. Marcus spent the morning with Victoria, helping her prepare. She was radiant, completely unaware that she'd orchestrated her own exposure. Elena had been instructed to stay in her room until needed. Marcus had quietly moved her belongings to the top floor suite, but he hadn't told her yet. One thing at a time. Guests arrived at 7. Victoria's 3 friends came first, air-kissing and complimenting the penthouse's decor. Several board members from Marcus's company followed, along with James and 2 senior partners. 20 people in total, all dressed in cocktail attire, all expecting to celebrate. Victoria wore crimson Valentino. She looked stunning. She looked like someone who'd never shown cruelty in her life. That was the most disturbing part. How well she wore the mask. Darling, should we have Elena serve the appetizers? Victoria asked, playing the gracious hostess. Where is she, anyway? She'll be out shortly, Marcus said. But first, I want to make a toast. Glasses were raised. Victoria beamed at him, probably imagining a romantic proposal speech. Instead, Marcus picked up a remote control. Thank you all for coming tonight. Victoria thinks this is an engagement party. It's not. This is a truth party. And I think the best way to start is by showing you all something I discovered this week. He pressed play. The wall-mounted screen flickered to life. For the first 30 seconds, no one understood what they were watching. Then Elena appeared on screen, scrubbing floors while Victoria stood over her, criticizing. The audio was crystal clear. Again, Elena, you missed a spot near the window. Victoria's face went white. Amanda Price gasped. Margaret Henley set down her champagne glass with a trembling hand. The footage continued. The breadcrumb scene played out in all its casual cruelty. Constance Wu covered her mouth as she watched herself on screen, laughing while Elena cleaned up the mess they'd deliberately created. The board members exchanged horrified glances. Then came Victoria's voice, clear as a bell through the speakers. You understand that Marcus keeps you here out of pity, don't you? That's not love, Elena. That's an obligation. Turn it off, Victoria hissed. Not yet, Marcus said calmly. The push came next. Victoria shoving Elena, casual as swatting a fly. Then the threat about assisted living facilities. Then more cleaning scenes, more humiliation, day after day after day of systematic degradation. When the footage finally ended after 15 minutes, the silence in the room was absolute. This is out of context, Victoria said, her voice shaking. Marcus, this isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, Marcus replied. It's abuse. Systematic, calculated abuse of a woman who couldn't fight back because she loved me too much to cause problems in my life. She volunteered to help. Tell them, Marcus. I watched you threaten to put her in a care facility if she didn't obey. I watched you tell her I was embarrassed by her existence. I watched you and your friends treat my mother like she was less than human, and you all laughed about it. Amanda Price was crying now. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I didn't think. You didn't think she was a person who mattered. None of you did. You saw someone powerless, and you broke her for entertainment. Margaret stood abruptly. I should go. Yes, Marcus agreed. You should all go? Except you, Victoria. One by one, the guests filed out. Some tried to apologize, but Marcus just shook his head. James remained, standing by the door. Marcus had asked him to stay as a witness. When they were alone, Victoria tried one last manipulation. Marcus, please. I love you. Everything I did was to help prepare Elena for the reality of our life together. She needed to understand her place. Her place. Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet. Do you want to know about places, Victoria? Elena's place was working 3 jobs so I could eat. Her place was staying up all night to help me with homework after she'd been on her feet for 16 hours. Her place was telling me I could be anything I wanted when everyone else said I'd be nothing. Her place is as the only parent I've ever known and the only person who loved me before I had money. I love you. You love my bank account. You love my social status. You love what I can do for your reputation. But you don't love me because if you did, you'd never have hurt the person who made me who I am. Victoria's composure finally shattered. Fine. You want the truth? She was always in the way, always hovering, always reminding everyone that you came from nothing. I was trying to fix you, Marcus. Make you someone acceptable. I was already acceptable. You just couldn't see it behind your own snobbery. Marcus pulled the engagement ring from his pocket, the 4-carat diamond Victoria had selected herself. He set it on the glass coffee table. James will escort you out. Take only what you brought into this relationship. Everything else stays, including your access to this building. You're making a mistake, Victoria said, but her voice had lost its power. My family. I don't care about your family. I don't care about your connections. I don't care about any of it. The only thing I care about is making sure you never get the chance to hurt Elena again. James stepped forward. This way, Miss Sterling. After they left, Marcus walked to Elena's room. She was sitting on the narrow bed, her hands folded in her lap, her face streaked with tears. She must have heard everything. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. "Yes, I did. But your wedding, your life. My life only matters because of you." Marcus sat beside her, took her hands. "I built a company. I made money. I bought this penthouse. But you know what the most valuable thing I have is?" Elena shook her head. "The memory of you teaching me to read. The memory of your laugh when I told stupid jokes. The memory of you telling me I mattered when I was just a kid who didn't belong anywhere. That's wealth, Elena. Everything else is just numbers in an account." She sobbed against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, mother and son, in a room too small for love this big. Finally, Marcus stood. "Come with me." He led her to the top floor suite, opened the door to the room with bay windows overlooking San Francisco. Her belongings were already there, arranged carefully. Her favorite chair by the window. Her books are on the shelves. Her photos on the nightstand. "This is your room," Marcus said. "Not a guest room. Not temporary. Yours. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about what happens next. But tonight, I just want you to rest." Elena walked slowly into the room, running her hands over the soft furniture, the silk curtains, the plush carpet. She turned to Marcus, her eyes full of questions. "I don't understand. Why would you give this up for me?" "Give up? A woman who saw you as an obstacle? Friends who thought cruelty was entertainment? Access to a social circle that values appearances over humanity?" "Elena, I didn't give up on anything. I just finally saw clearly what mattered. But people will talk. They'll say you're weak for choosing me over her." Marcus smiled. "Let them talk. I spent 30 years trying to prove I was good enough for people like Victoria. I'm done. The only person I need to be good enough for is standing right in front of me, and she's already spent a lifetime believing in me." Elena touched his cheek. "When did you grow up to be so wise?" "I learned from the best." That night, Marcus ordered takeout from Elena's favorite Thai restaurant. They ate on the terrace overlooking the city, just the two of them, talking like they hadn't talked in years. Elena told him about the small humiliations she'd endured, and Marcus apologized for every moment he'd been blind to her suffering. "I kept telling myself you were busy," Elena said quietly, "that your work mattered. And it does, Marcus. But I missed you. I missed you too. I just didn't realize it until I almost lost you." Over the next few weeks, Marcus made changes. He hired new household staff, people Elena vetted and approved. He made it clear that Elena was family, not help, and anyone who couldn't respect that could leave. He reduced his travel schedule by 40%. He started coming home for dinner. And he started the Elena Morales Center for Working Parents, a foundation providing childcare, education support, and career counseling for single parents trying to build better lives for their children. The opening ceremony made local news. Elena stood at the ribbon cutting, wearing a bright blue dress and a genuine smile, surrounded by former colleagues from her factory days. A reporter asked Marcus why he'd named the center after his mother. "Because she represents everything this foundation stands for," Marcus said. "Sacrifice, resilience, and the absolute belief that love can transform a life. Every parent who walks through those doors deserves the same support Elena gave me, the same chance to see their children succeed, the same recognition that their work matters." The reporter turned to Elena. "How does it feel to have a center named after you?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "It feels like being seen. For 30 years, I worked jobs where people looked right through me. And now my name is on a building that helps people like I used to be. It feels like everything I did had a purpose." Marcus hugged her tight. "It always had a purpose. I'm just sorry it took me so long to make sure you knew that." Victoria's family tried to spin the story, claiming Marcus was unstable, that the footage was manipulated. But too many people had been at that dinner. Too many witnesses had seen the truth. Within a month, Amanda Price resigned from 2 charity boards. Margaret Henley issued a public apology that no one really believed. Constance Wu quietly left San Francisco for New York. Victoria herself disappeared from the social circuit. Last Marcus heard, she was in Paris, engaged to some French industrialist. He wished her no harm, but he felt no sympathy. Some people never learn that cruelty has consequences. James stopped by Marcus's office 6 months after that dinner party. You know, people are still talking about what you did. What are they saying? That you chose love over ambition. That you walked away from the sterling family connections for a woman who used to work in a textile factory. Some of them think you're crazy. What do you think? James smiled. I think you're the sanest person I know. How's Elena doing? She's thriving. She started teaching ESL classes at the center twice a week. She says it reminds her of when she used to teach me to read. And you? Marcus leaned back in his chair, looking at the photo on his desk. Elena at the center's opening, wearing that blue dress, her smile genuine for the first time in months. I'm learning that wealth isn't measured in what you have. It's measured in who loved you when you had nothing and what you do with that love once you have everything. That's pretty philosophical for a tech mogul. I learned from the best. That evening, Marcus came home to find Elena in the kitchen, cooking dinner. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Music played from the speakers. She hummed along, chopping vegetables with the ease of someone comfortable in her own skin again. You're home early, she said, smiling. I wanted to be here. They ate together on the terrace as the sun set over San Francisco Bay. Elena wore a colorful scarf she'd bought at a street market, bright reds and yellows she never would have dared wear 6 months ago. She laughed at Marcus's stories about difficult clients. She told him about the woman at the center who'd just gotten her GED after working 2 jobs for 3 years. She reminded me of myself, Elena said softly. Working so hard, hoping it would matter. And now I get to tell people like her that it does matter, that their sacrifices are building something beautiful. Marcus reached across the table, took her hand. You built something beautiful. We built it, Elena corrected. You just needed time to see it. As darkness fell and the city lights began to glow below them, Marcus thought about everything he'd almost lost. The corner office, the luxury penthouse, the social status, none of it had been real. The only real thing had been the woman sitting across from him. The woman who'd loved him before he was anyone, who'd believed in him when belief cost her everything. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. Elena squeezed his hand. That's what mothers do, Mijo. We believe in our children even when they forget to believe in themselves. I always knew you'd find your way back. How? Because I raised you to see what matters. It just took you a little while to remember. They sat in comfortable silence as the night deepened around them. Somewhere in the city below, people were chasing wealth and status, and all the things Marcus had once thought defined success. Let them chase. He'd already found what mattered. It had been there all along, patient and loving and waiting for him to open his eyes. Before you go, if this story touched your heart, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that love is the only currency that really matters. Leave a comment telling me about the person who believed in you when you had nothing. Let's celebrate the Elenas of the world together. And if you enjoyed this story, give it a like so more people can find it. Because everyone deserves to be reminded that true wealth isn't what you own. It's who you honor and how you treat the people who built you. Marcus Bennett learned that lesson almost too late. But he learned it. And in learning it, he discovered that the richest man isn't the one with the biggest bank account. It's the one who remembers where he came from and honors the hands that lifted him up when he couldn't stand on his own. The Elena Morales Center opened its fifth location 2 years later. By then, it had helped over 3,000 working parents complete their education, find better jobs, and build stable lives for their families. Elena attended every single opening, cutting every ribbon, shaking every hand, remembering every story. She'd gone from invisible to invaluable, and she wore that transformation with quiet grace. Marcus stood beside her at each opening, no longer the man who'd been too busy to see what mattered. He'd learned that true power isn't about dominating others or climbing social ladders. It's about lifting people up, especially the ones who lifted you first. One evening, 3 years after that fateful dinner party, Elena found Marcus on the terrace, looking out at the city lights. "You're thinking too hard," she said, settling into the chair beside him. "Just remembering. Good memories or bad ones? Both. Remembering how close I came to losing you. Remembering how blind I was." Elena was quiet for a moment. "You know what I remember? I remember a little boy who used to read to me from library books, practicing his pronunciation. I remember him promising that someday he'd take care of me. And I remember thinking that love like that doesn't disappear. It just sometimes gets buried under life. But it always finds its way back. You forgave me too easily." "No, me, Joe. I forgave you exactly right. Because holding on to anger would have meant losing the only thing that mattered, our love for each other. Victoria tried to destroy that. I wasn't going to let her succeed by staying bitter." Marcus turned to her. "How did you get so wise? 63 years of living, 3 jobs, 1 stubborn son, and the absolute certainty that love wins if you're patient enough to let it." They sat together as they did most evenings now. Two people who'd almost lost each other, but had found their way back. The penthouse that had once felt like a sterile showpiece now felt like a home. Elena's herbs grew on the terrace. Her photographs lined the hallways. Her laughter filled rooms that had once echoed with cruelty. Marcus had learned the most important lesson of his life. You can build an empire, accumulate wealth beyond measure, and impress everyone who matters in the business world. But none of it means anything if you forget the people who loved you before you were worth loving by the world's standards. Some people spend their whole lives chasing success. Marcus Bennett had caught it, held it, and almost let it destroy the one thing that made him successful in the first place. He'd learned just in time that the best investment you can make isn't in stocks or real estate or social connections. It's in the people who invested in you first. Elena Morales had invested everything in a little boy with nothing, and that boy had grown into a man who almost forgot the value of that investment until he saw her on her knees, scrubbing floors in his penthouse, broken by someone who thought love could be measured in bank accounts and social status. He'd chosen right. He'd chosen love. And in choosing love, he'd found the only kind of wealth that actually matters, the kind you can't buy, can't steal, and can't lose unless you're fool enough to throw it away. Marcus Bennett had almost been that fool, but Elena Morales had raised him better than that. And in the end, her lessons had saved them both. The city lights glittered below them, a testament to human ambition and achievement. But up on that terrace, what glittered more was something simpler and infinitely more valuable: a mother's love and a son's gratitude, finally reunited after almost being destroyed by people who'd never understand what real wealth looks like. It looks like two people on a terrace, sharing comfortable silence, knowing they'd found their way back to each other. It looks like forgiveness and second chances and the absolute certainty that love, when it's real, can survive anything. Even billionaires need to learn that lesson sometimes. Marcus Bennett had learned it, and he'd never forget it again. She'd gone from invisible to invaluable, and she wore that transformation with quiet grace. Marcus stood beside her at each opening, no longer the man who'd been too busy to see what mattered. He'd learned that true power isn't about dominating others or climbing social ladders. It's about lifting people up, especially the ones who lifted you first. One evening, 3 years after that fateful dinner party, Elena found Marcus on the terrace, looking out at the city lights. "You're thinking too hard," she said, settling into the chair beside him. "Just remembering, good memories or bad ones? Both. Remembering how close I came to losing you. Remembering how blind I was." Elena was quiet for a moment. "You know what I remember? I remember a little boy who used to read to me from library books, practicing his pronunciation. I remember him promising that someday he'd take care of me. And I remember thinking that love like that doesn't disappear. It just sometimes gets buried under life. But it always finds its way back. You forgave me too easily." "No, me, Joe. I forgave you exactly right. Because holding on to anger would have meant losing the only thing that mattered, our love for each other. Victoria tried to destroy that. I wasn't going to let her succeed by staying bitter." Marcus turned to her. "How did you get so wise? 63 years of living, 3 jobs, 1 stubborn son, and the absolute certainty that love wins if you're patient enough to let it." They sat together as they did most evenings now. Two people who'd almost lost each other, but had found their way back. The penthouse that had once felt like a sterile showpiece now felt like a home. Elena's herbs grew on the terrace. Her photographs lined the hallways. Her laughter filled rooms that had once echoed with cruelty. Marcus had learned the most important lesson of his life. You can build an empire, accumulate wealth beyond measure, and impress everyone who matters in the business world. But none of it means anything if you forget the people who loved you before you were worth loving by the world's standards. Some people spend their whole lives chasing success. Marcus Bennett had caught it, held it, and almost let it destroy the one thing that made him successful in the first place. He'd learned just in time that the best investment you can make isn't in stocks or real estate or social connections. It's in the people who invested in you first. Elena Morales had invested everything in a little boy with nothing. And that boy had grown into a man who almost forgot the value of that investment until he saw her on her knees, scrubbing floors in his penthouse, broken by someone who thought love could be measured in bank accounts and social status. He'd chosen right. He'd chosen love. And in choosing love, he'd found the only kind of wealth that actually matters, the kind you can't buy, can't steal, and can't lose unless you're fool enough to throw it away. Marcus Bennett had almost been that fool, but Elena Morales had raised him better than that. And in the end, her lessons had saved them both. The city lights glittered below them, a testament to human ambition and achievement. But up on that terrace, what glittered more was something simpler and infinitely more valuable: a mother's love and a son's gratitude, finally reunited after almost being destroyed by people who'd never understand what real wealth looks like. It looks like two people on a terrace, sharing comfortable silence, knowing they'd found their way back to each other. It looks like forgiveness and second chances and the absolute certainty that love, when it's real, can survive anything. Even billionaires need to learn that lesson sometimes. Marcus Bennett had learned it, and he'd never forget it again.